this is the first time John and I have worked on a project since 1968, probably. And it's a great way to start, I think. My thought is, and John agreed, we just want to share these tunes. Let folks hear the magic that existed back then, and let folks hear how fortunate we were to have been in that time and place to make that kind of music. I'm just hoping the folks will like it as well as I do. I don't know. How about you, John?
You know, it's been so long since I've even played a banjo that this is the only thing in my world right now that I listen to, and I can tell what I was like back then. You know, I've done other recordings on the banjo, but and they were good, but they were different. You know, they were 10 years different from that, and you know, you can never regain your youth except through listening to stuff like this that you did when you were young. It's a unique feeling. It's just like, you know, when we were young, we listened to 78 RPM records that people collected of the music that we liked, and that was scratchy, old, you know, poor recording technique and everything, but it was evocative of those people in that time. The materials we learned from were done in an era previous to the one we were working in. And, you know, my feeling about what we did then is probably the same as the feelings of, you know, Gid Tanner and his bunch when they listened to recordings made of them. Especially as the years go by, you know, you as an older person, you don't really remember what you were like when you were young. You have vague, you know, intimations, you look at pictures and this kind of thing and talk to your friends. But that recording was what we were, I think.
Yeah. And you look back and you listen to those recordings and you realize that was really among the best things that we did back then. So the tunes we recorded were Rocky Mountain Goat, Ricketts Hornpipe, Charleston, and Sandy River Bell. And those were tunes that we all used to jam on all the time, but those were tunes that John really had specifically arranged for this session in terms of what he did. Me, I just was playing by the seat of my pants.
Well, the first one, Rocky Mountain Goat, you know, I learned that from a recording of a fiddle player. The Ricketts Hornpipe, I learned that probably from a recording by a string band, so it wasn't necessarily the fiddle player I was listening to. It could have been any of the instruments. Charleston is a very unusual tune,
I think so.
And what was the last one, Sandy River Bell?
Yeah.
That was a beautiful tune that we all learned from Buddy Pendleton, one of the greatest fiddlers of all time.
John, I don't quite remember how we all decided to get together and cut these duets.
Some of the people that came to Alan's shop didn't really come to play music; they just came to listen. Mm-hmm. One was Tom Whitmore, who was a engineer at WBAI.
Right.
Another was Bill Vernon. I don't know if you remember him. He was a record collector and a radio guy in New York City. And I think I remember one of them asking us to, you know, come and do some stuff at WBAI.
Okay.
And I mean, you agreed to do it with me. It was material that I worked on all the time.
Right.
And some of it I think you were familiar with already, and other stuff you weren't.
Right.
And then we just went to WBAI. It was a live show, and Tom recorded it.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't recall that, because we played music together all the time, you and I, so I knew your repertoire well. And as a kid, I did a lot of shows for WBAI. Even when I was in high school, I was doing actual shows for WBAI with Kenny Kozak and Al Feldman. and so we were used to that place, and those, once again, the people really accepted us there. All these guys, these DJs and musical hosts at the radio station just kind of welcomed us with open arms. Here were these puppy dog, high school kids playing old-timey music and, clowning around on the air, and they were fine with it. So that makes sense. So going over there with you would have been the most natural thing in the world for me to do.
And then once in the studio, we just did 4 tunes.
Right.
And I think Tom may have, talked to us a little bit in between tunes. But that's what it was. For my part, it wasn't so much spontaneous as it was for you, because I know, you made up the stuff you were going to play pretty much according to what the lead instrument played.
Right. I was playing backup.
And in my case, I wasn't doing that. I just had these arrangements of these tunes, and probably every time I played them, they'd be within 80% of the same thing.
Gotcha.
I remember the feeling I had when we did the first tune. When we were done, I think we could listen to it. Or after we'd done the 4 tunes, we could listen to them. And that was really the first time I'd ever heard a really high-quality recording of myself, for one, plus another person. And it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, that's how many years ago? 45, 50 years ago. And I've never played anything that I felt was as high quality as that again. And that's after a lot of playing.
For me, thinking back, I was really quite young. It was, 1967. That would have made me 18 maybe when we did it. And it was, for me, it was like a dedicated recording session. In other words, the first opportunity to really put down what I was doing all the time in performance and committed to tape at that time. And I remember being really happy about it. It was like, wow, this is cool. We listened to the playback, and this is cool. And all the years since then, I always think back as I look back to that real positive first experience in the studio, and always remembered, wow, that was really great. And then when I went back and listened to the recordings again, they were really just as magical as I remembered them that first moment that we recorded that first day. I just approached John one I guess it was around last year sometime, and I said, John, well, I was listening to these things. What do you think? And much to my surprise, he said, I think as positively about those recordings as you do. And so I said, well, would you be okay if I went and tried to find the master tapes for this? And John said, go ahead. And so I did. I spent a good deal of time trying to find the masters, and they disappeared. So then John had located a unopened copy of the vinyl, and I was fortunate enough to have a good friend in Mike Poston, who was Chet Atkins' engineer for so many years, and Mike and his friend Glenn Meadows had the expertise to extract that performance from the LP and present it to me, and then I presented it to John, and we both went, wow, that's it. That was what we did.
Yeah.
It was a pretty amazing thing. So I'm really excited about putting this project out and let people have a chance to hear this music. I think it'll be fun to get it out there again, let it see the light of day.
It's like a footnote in history. It's my young adulthood, practically your childhood, and it was great times for me.
So we're gonna put it out there and see who enjoys it. I hope you all do.